You go ahead and set the map. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you. Good to be here. This week has been an amazing week. It is like a rocket ship that things are happening in supersonic, I would say, in a blink of an eye. This parashat that we just read, called Beshalach, and when Pharaoh let the people of Israel go. Pharaoh, we already talked about him. The root word of Pharaoh, or Paro, is para. He was literally a rebel that his heart went berserk. That's what it is. His heart became as a rock, as a stone, and he set himself against God and his people. And then guess what happened? He lost. Simple as that. You set your heart, you set your face against the God of the universe, against the God of Israel and his people, you lose. Simple as that. So after 10 plagues, Pharaoh eventually relented. And he told Moshe, get out of here. You and all the people, men, women, children, and all your livestock, we had enough. The firstborn of Egypt, man, woman, beast, all died. And you can imagine the cry that went from every house. Well, the modern day Philistines, sons of Ham, the monsters of Hamas, thought that they're going to do the same thing to us. They came in, they pillaged, they burned, they raped, they murdered, took hostages, and they thought that they won. You see, the battle is not over yet. They may have won first quarter, but then the battle continues, and the Lord said that I have a war with the sons of Amalek until the end of the days. And at the end of the days, God destroys the children of Amalek. Pharaoh is a descendant of Ham. You know what happened to Ham? Ham was cursed. Ham was cursed. The Hamite. And the rest of his descendants have been cursed. And Egypt is a descendant of Ham. Now, you can reverse the curse when you turn your heart to Adonai. You see, Pharaoh, during the time of Joseph, acknowledged and recognized the power and the overall rule of God, of the universe, the God of Joseph, and that he is superior to the gods of Egypt. You see, because he bowed down to the God of Joseph, Adonai, then Adonai blessed Egypt and rescued not only Egypt, but the rest of the ancient world at that time. But this guy chose to put his face against God. And then God, with mighty hand and outstretched arm, takes his people out of Egypt with great thundering and supernatural events and miracles. So the people then feared Adonai and feared Moshe. Now the children of Israel, after they came out of Egypt, Moshe took the bones of Joseph, because he made the children of Israel swear, because he was a prophet. He knew that the children of Israel one day will leave Egypt and go to the promised land. And he said, take my bones with you. I want to be buried at the land of my forefathers. You know, Lynette and I have the same wish. And we already made some arrangements. I don't want to be here. Take my bones, ship me Federal Express, honey, all the way there, overnight. But then God has supernaturally gave the children of Israel the cloud by day. Meaning, he gave them the air conditioning. Because the desert is very hot. I mean, we live practically in a desert here, and you know, sometimes it gets to 117, and Arizona to 120, sometimes 130, or Death Valley up to what, 150 or so? I mean, you can die in an instant. You dehydrate and die. God put the cloud over them. It's like a huge umbrella. So they did not get exhausted, and they will not perish in the desert. But then, in the desert, and I spent a couple of years in the desert of Sinai, in the army, and then after that, as a tour guide with a company called Neota Kikar, that we used to take tourists to Sinai. And the highlight was to get to Mount Sinai and climb just at the early morning and see sunrise from the top of Mount Sinai. I have climbed that, I would say, dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But then, desert, as much as it is hot by day, it is freezing cold at night. And I remember at one point during the service in the army, we were not prepared. We did not have the nice warm jackets. And we were cold. We were shivering. I mean, you think about it, in the middle to late June, it's hot already in the desert. It's always hot, but at night it was cold. So God put the pillar of fire. Literally, heavenly, propane, huge tank that warms every single Israelite and gives them light at night. Not only warmth, but light. You see, we're in the desert of life. You agree with me? Life is not a cakewalk. I mean, you want me to tell you some stories? No, I'm not going to tell you all the stories. You know why? Because you're not interested in my story, because you have your own story of trial and tribulations, of walking in the desert when sometimes it's so hot you think you're going to burn and crash and burn. And then at night when it's dark and you feel cold, you cower down, and all the thoughts coming through to your mind, to my mind. I should have done this. I should have done this. I feel sorry for that. Lord, help me. And you get some fear, which is not of God. Fear is not of the Lord, because he said, fear not, because I am with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. So life is like a desert. But God puts his umbrella over us, and he takes us out of slavery to the world, and he redeems us through Messiah Yeshua's blood. And then at the time when it is dark and cold, we see his light. I do that many, many nights. I wake up. I guess you get to a certain age, you have more calling in the middle of the night, and you wake up more. And it's hard to go back to sleep. Sometimes you get 2 hours and, if you're blessed, 3 hours. It's hard to go back to sleep, to fall back. But then Lynette is asleep. The pups are asleep. And I don't want to wake him up. One of the puppies, she hears me moving. She gets from under the blanket and she wants to kiss me to no end. And I said, no, this is not loving kissing time. It's time to go to bed. And I don't know what to do, but I shove her under, put my head back on the pillow, and I start to pray. Pray myself back to sleep until next time. And when I pray, then I shut my mind that starts to engage already and gives me unrest. Because now there's no light. Now it is darkness. Because you go, oh, I should have done that. What if this? What if that? And all the rest of it. And when I pray, it's like my mind is cleansed. And I don't think about anything else except trying to remember Scripture. And that's what puts me back to sleep, because the light of the Lord now shining in my mind and in my heart. And this is what He has done to the children of Israel, although they were rebellious. And I'm no different. You're not different. But nonetheless, God is in control. Now they face Egypt again because Pharaoh relented. Remember, I told you, he was a real not only rascal, but his heart was evil. Paro. He literally breaks all laws and order. I mean, this is in his name. Parua. Now he chases Israel to the Red Sea. And then the children of Israel fear. And what they do, when you get afraid, you cry out. You yell. You scream. And the poor guy that's over there, Moshe, that's supposed to be the lifesaver, they said to him, Moshe, our people, why did you get us out of Egypt? Are you out of your mind? We had such a good time over there. Remember, we had the watermelons, and we had the onions, and we had the garlic. They all of a sudden forget the bondage of slavery. And they said, you know what? We could have died there. Why did you get us out so we die in the desert? Like there is a difference. There's no difference. When you're dead, you're dead. Doesn't matter in Egypt or America or in the desert. What matters is where your spirit goes. And the spirit better be with God. So Moshe, a prophet, a man of God, he tells them, shh, relax, tranquilo, take it easy, my people. No worries. Don't be afraid. For today, he said, today, you see Yeshuat Adonai. The word Yeshua, today you're going to see Adonai's salvation. You see, their salvation came in the physical tense. Our salvation, not only in the physical, but the most important is it is in the spiritual sense. That we are saved by the blood of the Lamb. No matter what the devil brings on us, we're saved. Period. We're going to come out of that. Period. That is the promise. So he said, today you're going to see Yeshuat Adonai, the Lord's salvation. Fear not. And he said, the Egyptians that you see now, and you're afraid of them, you're going to see them no more. Meaning they're going to be obliterated. At times we go through such trials and tribulations. Our back is against the wall. Our back, like the children of Israel, were back to the Red Sea. There's nowhere to go except to drown. And Moshe tells them, listen, Adonai is going to fight for you. However, you need to zip it. You need to be quiet. Adonai lachem lachem ve'atem taharishun. Adonai will fight for you because the fight is Adonai's. He is the captain. He is Adonai Tsevaot. He is the commander in chief of all the hosts of heaven and earth. But he said, listen, you need to be quiet. Some people say, yeah, I had my quiet time, right? What happens when we have quiet time and we pray? We see the light. We hear Adonai. And he said, enough. Because what happened, they were murmuring. Murmuring, by the way, it's not an English word. It's a Hebrew word. They didn't know how to translate it. They transliterated lehitmarmer. You hear that? It comes from a double mar. And mar is bitter. And double mar. Marmer. Lehitmarmer. Murmur. Somebody murmur. You know that it comes from bitterness. Our people are champions of murmuring. I mean, you know, it is a biblical word, by the way. Oy vey, is me. You know, Isaiah, he said that, right? Woe is me, right? By the way, anybody knows Isaiah's horse name? Nobody knows. I know. His name was Ismi, because he says, woe is me. Anyway, then the children of Israel walked on the dry land. The Lord commanded Moshe, take your staff and smack the water, and the Red Sea split open. There's so many great mavens. You know what it is? Smart guys, professors, archaeologists, anthropologists, all kinds of ist. And they're trying to figure out how the Red Sea split. Is it possible, natural occurrence, or whatever it is? I can tell you, God split the sea. Simple as that. It's so easy to understand if you have faith and believe in the Lord. But if God can save me, couldn't He split the sea? If He created the heavens and earth in 6 days, can't He split the Red Sea? If He resurrected His Son in 3 days and 3 nights, couldn't He split the sea? If He rained fire and brimstone on the Canaanites when Joshua came and prayed and he stopped the sun and the moon. All he did is, okay, Joshua, what do you want? You want me to stop the sun and the moon? Okay, push the button. That's it. Done. He didn't push the button. He said, one word, Amod. That's it. So he split the sea. Not only that he split the sea, it says that the water was standing like walls of protection, and the land wasn't muddy. It immediately dried out in an instant, and they walked on a dry land as if it was paved. They're not one person or an animal or a cart had the muddy feet or muddy wheels. The children of Bnei Israel עברו ביבשה בתוך הים. יבשה mean yavesh, dry land. All while they were quiet. Why quiet? Think about it. Adonai makes such a great miracle, and they're all trying to figure it out, right? And this guy says this, and this guy says this, and this guy, and this guy, this guy. See, you get two of our people, the Jewish people, you get 6 opinions. You get the rabbis together, no one agrees with the other guy. The whole Talmud is like that. Rabbi this say this, and Rabbi this say this, and this, and this, and that. At the end, you have to pick a side. I picked my side. I go by the Torah. I go by what God said. I don't care what the rabbi said. You know, I'm a rabbi. You think anybody cares if I say something which is outside the boundaries of Torah? Nobody cares. In fact, no, I will be not only a hypocrite, I will teach heresy, which I am not. I teach what's written in here. It says that the children of Israel walked and crossed the Red Sea on a dry land and do not talk. Because if we quiet, there's no opinions. There's no murmuring. How come you're first? I want to be first. Hey, move over, get your camel out of, my face, and so on and so forth. There's so many excuses. I mean, we are in ministry life, Lynette and I, for almost 36, almost 37 years now. Let me tell you something. We heard a lot of murmur. And people come and tell me their problems. I said, do you want to hear mine? I'll tell you my problem. I know only one solution to your problem. His name is Yeshua. You pray to him. By the time I will pray with you. I will pray with you. I will pray for you. But it is our responsibility to approach the throne of God, to the blood of the Lamb, period. And we need to do that. See, the Lord brings them out. And Pharaoh thinks that he's still going to get him. Last chance. Last chance. Let me tell you, buddy. Close but no cigar, they say in Texas, right? He comes very close, and God just speaks to the water, and the water turns on them. And not only that, the dry land has become muddy, that their wheels got stuck in the mud of the Red Sea. And the wheels, and it says specifically that God has removed the pins that hold the wheels. Think about it. You're going, like me, 82 miles an hour, on the 99 to 5, and all of a sudden, a pin that holds the hub, God forbid, of the front wheel, or any wheels, for that matter, in the car, what's going to happen? I'm going to flip over time and time and time. By the grace of God, he doesn't do that to me, but he did it to Pharaoh because he was a rebel against God. And the children of Israel just leaving the water into the other side of the Red Sea, and they turn around. Whoa! Look what happened to the enemy. Enemy has vanished in an instant. Just like this. You see, Israel is in a very tough spot. Has been for over a year and a half. It's the longest war that Israel has fought. And it was even harder before January 20th, when we have a new president been sworn in. Interestingly enough, many in Israel think of President Trump as somewhat like a Moses figure that helps the children of Israel from this bound, from this conundrum that Israel is facing right now. And God put a new leader, and he kept Israel's leader against all odds, because he's tough, he's determined. He's also a type of Moses, because there's a lot of murmur in Israel right now. It has been on before the war. In fact, this is probably the main reason that brought the war and the calamity over Israel, is because of the murmuring of the left, the progressive, the anarchist, and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter what kind of a position they hold, either in the army or in the government or even ex-prime ministers. God has set the right man whom he chose at the right place at the right time. Now, Israel looking at the president, which is totally unpredictable. You know that. I mean, in 2 weeks, look what he has done. Got the whole world spinning. The progressive liberals, left, Democrats, they're going berserk. They're like Pharaoh. They're trying to pursue the old ways. The people have been freed on January 20th, have been freed from the bondage of the old Pharaoh. And the old Pharaoh with his minions are still trying to pursue, and they think that they are going to win. They talk about winning. Hey, hello, you lost. You lost big time. You cursed him. You cursed Israel. When they started to play games with Israel, meaning the previous administration, I told Lynette, they will lose. Like, I'm not a prophet, but I know that there is a formula. You bless, I'll bless those who bless you, and I'll curse those who curse you. Pharaoh cursed Israel, then he is obliterated. The other administration, no matter what kind of tricks that they have done, and I wouldn't put it past them, they tried to kill him twice. They didn't make it. He's still alive. Because God is in control. But they have to understand that they lost. Rather than talk about winning. We win, we win, we win. Now you lost. Hello? Got the message? God wins. Period. And those that walk with him win. Listen, our battle has been won already. Our battle has been won 2,000 years ago on the Roman cross in Jerusalem when Messiah shed his blood for us, period. We just need to walk through the desert, which is life, and it's tough. But God will never leave us. So what happened? In 2 weeks, the whole world is shaking, unpredictable. Every day, as they say, motzi od shafan miasak. Every day he got a new rabbit coming out of the bag, and it drives him nuts. He's like that Chinese emperor, and it's a true story. The Chinese emperor, it's a Chinese wisdom, was taking a nap every afternoon. And his top advisor said to him, Mr. Emperor, Your Excellency, Your Highness, aren't you afraid that they're going to kill you or have a coup against you? He said, no worries. He said, what? I am acting as if I am unpredictable. And while I'm doing so, all the minions underneath you and me are trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. While they're bickering one against the other, now I have peace because they're busy and I can go and take a nap. And this is what the president does. Keeps them guessing. And he goes, I'm not a golfer, but he loves golf. Boom. He plays golf in the middle of all this. Can you imagine? But now, this is nothing short than God's given wisdom. And what I'm talking about, I'm talking what happened when President Trump had the press conference with Mr. Netanyahu. And you say, Rabbi, how does it fit to the Parashah? How does it fit to the Bible? Let me tell you. I'll put it together. What happened is, and the White House said that all the declaration that he declared right in the middle of the press conference was just put together just few minutes before. Meaning there was no forethought or a plan. Maybe there was. I don't know. I wasn't there. But all I know is that the man said that God saved his life. And I bet you God has quickened his mind to say, we're going to take all the Gaza people out. And they're all going to take them. And the U.S. will control Gaza. They sent like an earthquake shock around the world. Like all the kings of the earth have come against him. And the Arabs, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And he sits there. He said, yeah, they will. They will take him. Kind of. I said, you see, he doesn't ask. He gives an order. He's like the emperor now. It's fascinating. Didn't I tell you, get ready, fasten your seatbelt tight. We're going on the E-ride right now. It's so fast. Enjoy the ride. I enjoy it every day. You see, there have been calls already in Israel for many years to relocate them. You see, the brothers, the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Jordanians, use them as a pawn, meaning the Palestinians. They're Arabs. I don't call them Palestinians because there's no such thing. But they use whom they call our brothers. They could have settled them 80 years ago. But they didn't want to. They wanted them to be poor and miserable so they can use them as a thorn on the side of Israel. And they abused their own brothers. And even during this war in the past year and a half, they're all screaming genocide. You know how many trucks have entered yesterday of supply? Over 600 trucks in a day. That's abuse. Since when a conquering army feeds its defeated enemy? Show me another war like this in the whole world. U.S. didn't do that. U.S. dropped 2 bombs over Japan. They obliterated the Nazis. So what happened is he brings this idea outside the box and everybody is screaming. especially the Egyptians. But let me tell you something about the Egyptians and the Jordanians, because they are the two main countries that will take them. First of all, Jordan is 90% or so, or something close to it, let's say 75%, what is called West Bank or Palestinian Arabs. And there are only few of them there, the Hashemites, which is the king's family or the tribe, and the Bedouins that keep them secured. Other than that, or besides that, the kingdom of Jordan is part of Israel biblical promised land. I mean, there was no such thing as Jordanian kingdom. It is man-made by the British in the early 20s. So it is a man-made that created nothing but chaos. However, the president said, they'll take him. Egypt was screaming, genocide, genocide. Such hypocrites. And they did not open the gate to let one of their brothers, even for medical treatment, to cross over from Gaza to Egypt. They still have it closed, only they let now very small amount of those really seriously wounded, that Israel actually let him go. But then they said, we're not going to take it. Immediately, you see, one of the things that even Golda Meir said, that the Arabs never, it was Abba Eban. It was the legendary Secretary of State or Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel. He said that the Arabs never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. You see, here they have an opportunity that literally the leader of the free world gives them, and he says, look, we'll resettle them. We'll build them nice places. We make sure that they have everything necessary. But the first thing they did, they got together, these morons, in Cairo, and they're all within 48 hours said no. And Trump said, you'll take him. Simple as that. And I'll tell you why. Egypt, a country of nearing 100 million people right now, is one of the poorest countries in the world. I've been there, we've been there many times. And it literally depends on the U.S. aid of close to $2 billion a year to keep the regime afloat and to supply the minimum food to the people. It is because they signed the peace agreement with Israel. Concluded that 78 when Jimmy Carter was the president. And then their energy, which is absolutely amazing. They had a lot of gas and a lot of oil, and they all dried out, or most of it. And then huge deposits of natural gas. They say the largest in the world, and the big one's called Leviathan in the Mediterranean, that now supplies natural gas to Egypt in order to keep their economy afloat. And Israel sells that to them pretty cheap. So, if it would not be for the U.S. aid and Israeli help, Egypt will be gone. I mean, the masses will rise up and depose them as they have done before when they got rid of Hosni Mubarak. So this guy has the goal, Assisi, to say we're not going to take him. Well, let's see. Let's see what's happening. I'll show you the new plagues that have been levied on Egypt by the president this week. It's amazing. It's like they have learned nothing. They have learned nothing. over 4,000 years. So now, they say no. President said yes. But interestingly enough, you know what? I'll go to Jordan, then I'll come back to Egypt. Jordan also said no. This puppet king, Abdullah, the son of King Hussein, that signed the peace program, peace process, or peace treaty and agreement with Israel during the time of Bill Clinton, also receives U.S. aid to the tune of close, same thing, $1.5 billion, $2 billion, and receives, as they call, air umbrella from the U.S., and the Israeli might of the Israeli IDF against their rebels that will depose them, and Israel give them intelligence, water, and energy. So if the U.S. and Israel would turn the spigot off, these two countries or regimes will be gone. So that's why the president say, oh, they will do. Because he has his hand on the spigot. And he knows that Netanyahu will do the same because Netanyahu would listen to him. Egypt, let me go now back to Egypt and back to biblical truth here and prophecy. As we saw that God obliterated the Egyptian for their disobedience, because of their king, the Pharaoh, disobeyed God and came against God. They will do the same thing in the future. Look at Egypt. Look at the map behind me. Look at Egypt. It's a sizable country that has plenty of water. The Nile is very, very strong water coming all the way from Lake Victoria and the Victoria Falls, out there, all the way from Kenya, Uganda, through the Kush, which is Ethiopia, through the Sudan into the Nile Delta, which is fruitful. This is the biblical land of Goshen. They got plenty. However, rather than taking the money that they receive as aid and help their people, they buy more weapons. Egypt is the largest army in the Middle East. They have thousands of tanks. And they keep on buying. Look, the U.S. is about business. Of course, there are national, international interests. But the weapon industry is huge here. And when you produce weapons, what you need to do is sell it. So part of the aid to Egypt is in weapon because they want more weapons. Let's look around. Is the Sudan a threat? Which they are Sunni Muslims, just like the Egyptians. Are they a threat to Egypt? From the south? Is Libya from the north? From the west? Is also Sunni Muslim country a threat to Egypt? Is Saudi Arabia to the east, look how huge it is, a threat to Egypt? Are the Syrians? Are the Algerians? Moroccans? No. Can you see Israel there? Sliver, like a little bit of a yellow line. You can't even write the name Israel on Israel's map. You have to write it on the Mediterranean in order to acknowledge Israel. You see on the map? I will bet you, I'm not a betting man, but I will tell you from the Bible that Egypt is amassing all this weaponry eventually to betray the peace process and attack Israel. How do I know that? Go to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 30 talks about that. talks about that with Gog and Magog will come the Egyptians and the Iranian, Persian, and the Libyans, and Cush, and all those countries around will come against Israel. But it's not going to help them, because God will do the same as He did to the ancient Pharaoh and will make them drown. However, this time not in the sea, but He will throw on them fire and brimstone. And what it is, it's called now, because we understand, it's called tactical nuclear weapon. Meaning that it will explode and blow a place in a limited area. How do I know that? Because it says that Egypt will be desolate. It doesn't say about Sudan or Libya or Saudi Arabia. I said Egypt will be desolate. Read Ezekiel. Will be desolate for 40 years. Not man nor beast will walk through the land. You know how long it takes for the radiation of a nuclear explosion, for the fallout to eventually cure, and that a place can be inhabited again? 40 years. So then also it says that God will listen to the cry of Egypt. Look how merciful God is. And will save Egypt. He will send a savior to Egypt. I mean, isn't that mind-blowing? So, I'll submit to you that Egypt goes into the millennial kingdom desolate. The 40 years of cleansing will spill over to the 1,000 years reign of the Lord from Jerusalem. At least that's how I read it. Now, Egypt says no. Here's what Trump said. If you say no, here it is. He's like Moshe, sent by the Lord, and he says, listen, Pharaoh, this is what's going to happen to you. Blood, Sfardeya, what you call it, frogs. Oh, man, I hate frogs. I hate snakes and frogs. My kids, when they were little, they go and they find these little toads in the garden. I said, don't bring them home. They're not pets. They're a plague. Don't bring them home. Here is the first plague on the modern Egypt. There are about 12 to 13 of them. Some of them, an extension of the others. First of all, is eliminating the U.S. and European aid to the Egyptian economy. That's it. Going to kill them. Second is eliminating the military aid of the U.S. to the Egyptian army. Third one is sanction on Egyptian companies that operate around the world. And it continues. Next one, what President Love is tariff and high taxes of anything that comes out of Egypt. I don't know what comes out of Egypt. I tell you, nothing comes out of Egypt. Maybe a few camels. That's as far as I know. Sanctions on their ports. Meaning they cannot, because they have the Suez Canal going through. You see, but it does not belong to Egypt, although they collect all the taxes from them. They didn't build it. It's the British and the French that built it in the 1800s, before the Panama Canal. So, sanctions on the Egyptian airline. And it goes on. It's really amazing. Sanction on the Egyptian currency and the stock. No visa for any Egyptian that wants to come to the U.S. That's it. No soup for you. A high-level officials of Egypt will not be able to come to the U.S. No, any aircrafts of Egypt, whether it be civilian, or military, will not come to the U.S. And the last one, freezing all assets. If this is not enough, the last one, it's like now this is the death of the firstborn. That's it. I'm going to freeze all your assets. See, that's why he's like the Chinese emperor, the Ming dynasty, and he can take a nap or go to play golf because he said, they'll take him. I'm sure they'll take him. They will. And for Israel, it will be the greatest miracle. Nothing short that the Israelis see that right now as Moshe brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. You see, there's just one thing I wish from my people. That they will acknowledge the power of God. That they will acknowledge that all these 7 fronts that Israel fights, they couldn't do it by themselves. Just shut up. Let God fight for you. He's already doing that. Why do you have to murmur? Why do you think that you're better than your brother? Just because his skin color is different? Because his food is different? Because he came from other country than your parents came? Listen, brothers, we're all Jews. And we should listen to Adonai. As Moshe said, be quiet and watch the salvation of Adonai. Because he is going to fight for you. You see, be quiet. Don't scold Netanyahu. God sent a man right now that is in control through God. And he will send and accomplish his plan. You want to fight God, my dear friends? And to you, enemies of Israel and God, be careful. As Laurel and Hardy used to say, you're going to go to the other place. You fight God, you're going to drown in the sea. And the children of Israel eventually, my dear brothers and sisters, we will walk on dry land through the sea. Bottom line. Hallelujah. Thank you. Please like and share, and I'll see you next week. Shalom, shalom.